y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to another 3 looks 1 palette video here. I understand this isn't a full palette, but I did create this palette. I got all the hot pots from Coastal Scents and put them into this palette, so I figured I can call it a palette. Yes, I understand it's not technically a palette, but you know, for the sake of this video, we're doing a 3 looks 1 palette using Coastal Scents hot pots, and I'm also going to give you guys my overall review of these shadows at the end of the video. And then since I am talking about Coastal Scents eyeshadows, I do want to touch on briefly my review of the brushes that I've tried from Coastal Scents. So if you are interested in that, let's go ahead and jump first into the tutorial and then we'll get to the reviews.
Alright, so I'm just going to go in with the LORAC Behind the Scenes eyeshadow primer and then my Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define, and I'm blending that in, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. And then here are all the eyeshadows we're going to be using today. Starting in, I'm taking this green, vibrant lime green, and I am applying that right into my crease, kind of patting it on and then just using windshield wiper motions and blending it in. You're going to hear the baby waking up a bit, but anyway, so yeah, just blending it in. And as you can see, like, it takes a while to build up, but I feel like you get the really nice pigmentation of color, and it does build upon itself pretty nicely. Then taking that olive shade there, I'm going to pack that right into the crease with a finer pointed brush. Once again, this starts out kind of sheer, but for me, whenever I pick up shadow, I really dig it into the pan. It's more of a dry matte formula, so I really dig it in there, and with a bit of building, it does build up nicely, and I feel like you can definitely see the different tones of color. Then taking this olive wood brown shade, I'm going to put that right on the outer corner, packing it on with a little brush, and in my opinion, it packed on really nicely, and when I had to go blend the edges, it also, I felt like, was blending really nicely. Yeah, really no complaints with that shade. Again, I really dug my brush in, or not dug my brush in, but I very firmly pressed it in there a couple times to get the pigmentation, and I was very happy with it. And then as you see me here, I'm just kind of working on the outer corner, but then I'm going to take this yellow shimmer. It's called Solar Flare. It's a very interesting type of shimmer. And anyway, I tried to apply it first with a brush, and as you can see, it wasn't working too well. So then I used my finger, and that was working okay, but I couldn't get the precision that I wanted. So then I used just a little bit of that Pixie Glow Mist, and I wet it, and then it worked a lot better. But again, I don't know, I just don't like the formula. It just looks a little patchy, so I kind of pressed some more over with my finger, and then I took this Balsam shade and kind of meshed the darker outer corner with the more vibrant yellow, just to get it a little nicer of a gradient. And then I'm just taking those brush without any additional product and just making sure that it's blended nicely. So then I'm just going in with my Vamp stamp and then this Hank & Henry liner pen and doing my typical wing. Then I'm going into this shade. It looks yellow on camera, but it's Python green. It's really kind of a yellow green, I guess you could say, and I am applying that on my lower lash line. This wasn't the most pigmented, as you'll see. Again, I really went in hard to get the pigmentation that you see, but I mean, it works fine. Nothing neon in it, but it was a nice color. And then I'm taking that olive wood and just smoking out the outer corners to really, you know, just diffuse and deepen out the outer edges of my eyes. And then putting on some mascara, and then taking this Flower Beauty gel liner and applying that to my waterline. Next up, I'm taking Elven Gold. This is a really pretty shade, and I just packing that on my inner corner. I thought this was a really gorgeous shade. Not super duper intense, but very nice and pretty and does the job. And then I'm just taking that Maybelline highlighter and applying that for my highlight, and then going on with this Gerard Cosmetics liquid lipstick in the shade Mudslide and putting that on my lips, and that is going to be the completed look. Was not a fan of how the yellow ended up looking on my eyes, but it's fine for a very subtle look. I was wanting more intensity in the metallics, and if you look up close on the video where I get a close-up of my eye makeup, I think you can see it's just not very smooth of a formula. They're shimmers, so I wasn't very impressed with that, but the mattes were nice, as you saw. Okay, moving into the second look, I'm taking the same LORAC primer and the same base with the Conceal and Define from Makeup Revolution, and then I'm going on with this dark mango shade and buffing that into my crease. Once again, really have to press in there, and if you can see, maybe you can't, but I am not knocking off my brush, which is something I typically do for pigmented shadows, and I'm not doing it here. And then I'm taking that baked clay and using a very small brush to really pack that and apply it pigmentedly, is that a word, into my crease. And then I'm just taking the brush that's a E40 from before and just buffing out the edges, meshing those two together. Then taking this red, it's called Vibrant Red, I'm going to be putting that on my outer corner. Once again, really focusing on packing, and I mean, probably due to the fact that all of these 3 shades I've used so far are, you know, red, so it's pretty easy to blend them, but I thought blending that red into the 2 other shades in my crease was very easy and effortless. Then I'm taking this shade, I think it's called Lakeshore, sorry about that, but I'm applying that to my lid, and I first start with my finger just because of the track record I have with their shimmers. And then I'm going to take this other shadow called White Silver, and I'm going to apply that kind of on top in the inner corner. It's not really inner corner highlight, but I'm using that shade to really carve out and give myself that half cut crease look, and just kind of topping it just a little bit, topping that silver. But I'm more so using it just to define it, since I had to use my finger with the silver to really get it to adhere. I want something to kind of help that half cut crease be more noticeable. And then I'm just going back and forth on the outer edge with a brush with that silver and just gonna mesh it into the red so it doesn't look too stark of a line where the shimmer stops and the matte begins. Then I'm just taking my Vamp stamp and using this Case Magnetic liner, and then I'm going to go and apply some of this Mavie Hidden Talent Mascara. Next I'm taking the FauxBlack gel liner in Oxblood, and then as you saw, that highlighter from Covergirl. And then going in with this other red shade, this is Pomegranate Red, I'm applying that to my lower lash line. Not a whole lot of difference from the Vibrant Red, just a little bit more depth. And then taking the shade White Silver, I'm going to be using that wet on my inner corner as a highlight. As you can tell, wet, it shows up really nice, and I really did like the shimmer formula for an inner corner highlight, just didn't enjoy it all over the lid. So anyway, going on with that lip oil from Covergirl, I'm just lightly applying that, and then taking the lash liner system Lashes in Los Angeles, and I'm popping those onto my lash line. And that's going to be the completed look. As I said, I think you can see in the close-ups, there's just not the definition that I was wanting with these shadows. I don't know, it's just not my preference when it comes to shimmers. They're a little tricky and lackluster, and as you can tell on my right eye, I just felt like I couldn't really buff and blend out that harsh line. It just kind of sticks and doesn't really want to move, and their mattes are so thin, it's really hard to get a very seamless blend between shimmer and matte. But anyway, that is the completed look. To change up the base, I'm taking the Gerard Cosmetics Clean Cut Canvas. It's a new release of theirs, and I'm using that as my base. And then taking Cornflower Blue, I am buffing that into my crease very generously, per usual. You know, I'm not tapping off my brush at all. You don't have to worry about getting too pigmented with these matte shadows, but as you can see, it does build up nicely, and I didn't really notice any patchiness or issues with over blending, so that was nice. And then taking this electric blue, I'm going to be sticking that right into my crease. I didn't really think this was electric blue. I feel like I have some shadows from Menagerie that could blow this out of the water, but it is a nicely pigmented blue, and as you can see, it will build up and it looks really nice. And then I'm taking this shade Indigo, and I'm going to be packing that on my outer corner, and this was the most disappointing matte shadow from all of the shadows that I have tried in this palette of Coastal Suns. As you can tell, like, it took a lot of building up and a lot of working with it to get it to show up to be intensely blue, and even then I didn't think it was that intense of a blue shade, but at least it was smooth and wasn't patchy. And then I'm taking that Ulta Little Cut Crease tool. Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I'm using that to cut out my crease and at least give me a line to follow. And then I'm just taking a brush and just kind of perfecting the edges and applying it a lot more smoothly than that cut crease stamp did. And then per usual, I'm just taking my finger to tap out the edges, the outer shade Indigo to soften the edges. And then I'm going to take this shade, which is Blue Hawaiian, and I'm applying that all over my lid and kind of staying away from the very inner corner and then the very top of that cut crease. And then I'm going to go in with Azure Frost, and I'm applying that all over the rest of the area with the cut crease. And I feel like the mesh of these two, the lighter and the brighter blue, was really pretty and gave it something different and helped the cut crease stand out a bit more. I feel like if the shimmer shadows were better quality, this would be even more beautiful and stunning and be able to stand out. But with these Coastal Scents shimmers, they were just kind of a wash of color on the lid. It's still pretty, just wasn't really what I was looking for. Anyway, going on with my Vamp stamp, I'm applying that to the outer corners and then applying a wing liner. I think this liquid liner was a Covergirl active one. I'll have it linked down below. But anyway, applying these two mascaras for today, and then I'm going on with this IT Cosmetics No Tug Gel Liner in black for my waterline, and then taking a little bit more of indigo, I am smoking that out on my lower lash line. To finish this look out, I'm taking white silver and applying that on my inner corner as a highlight. I'm not taking it wet here at all. This is just how it looks without any help, and it's really pretty, I think. A perfect shimmer to use for the inner corner, very smooth. And then I'm just finishing off with a little more mascara. To finish off my face, I'm just taking this pure highlighter in Afterglow, and I'm applying that to the tops of my cheekbones, and then this Butter London lip oil, and finishing off my lips with a little hydration, and that is the completed look. Overall, I think the look is really pretty, and it's by far, I think, my favorite one of the three that I did with the Coastal Scents shadows, but I just felt like overall, for using a lot of blue shadows that were kind of named Vibrant Blue, Indigo, I just felt like overall it was a very soft blue look. But hey, if you want a soft blue look, these shadows will definitely give it to you, but for me, I was wanting more depth and intensity than I got.
Alright, so those are the three looks that I recorded for this 3 looks 1 palette video, and I'm sure you guys can guess by now from just watching the tutorial, I definitely had some hits and misses when it came to their hot pots, and if I could just kind of sum it up in one sentence, a couple sentences, sum it up very briefly for me at least, I would recommend the hot pots, their mattes, especially their bolder colors, since that's what I tried. I didn't have too much experience with their more neutral ones, but I would recommend their matte formula over their shimmers. Their shimmers, let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of their shimmers, and I want to say, I think the only one I didn't use in a look was this one. Pretty much every one I used either inner corner or on the eye. So from the 10 that or the 9 that I've tried, I didn't really enjoy any of them unless I was just sticking out in the inner corner. So for me personally, and what I look for when it comes to eyeshadows, I thought their mattes were just fine. Sure, some of them might have taken a little bit more work to blend out, but keep in mind also this is vibrant, bright colors. But overall, like, even with saying that, I was very impressed with how easy these shadows were to work with. I didn't notice them particularly difficult to blend, build up, that kind of thing. But their shimmers do not do it for me, and every time I created a look using the different colors of shimmers, I was always disappointed. It was just kind of like, womp, 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 womp. And even today on the eye look, I think this was my favorite eye look that I created using, you know, the shimmers and whatnot, but even still, like, I've only been wearing this for 4 or 5 hours. I didn't touch it up at all when I sat down to do my eye makeup, and I really don't see any major creasing, but there is definitely fading. Now, I did not use glitter glue under my eyeshadow today, but I did in my first impressions, which I should have mentioned at the beginning, but I did do a first impressions look, so if you want to see one more look, 4 looks total, using the colors you see here, I'll have that linked up here if you guys want to go watch it. But in that video, I put some glitter glue and tried to tap it on top, and it helped it a little bit, but it didn't help the wear time at all. I don't know, there's just something about Coastal Scents, their shimmer formula, that I really don't like, and just doesn't last, and it's really hard to work with, and just doesn't apply smoothly and look very nice. So I would not recommend their formula. If you're wanting to get affordable shimmers, I can think of so many other brands. ColourPop, Wet n Wild. I haven't really tried e.l.f. shimmers, although their little new Hot Pocket, what is it called? Those little like 4 quad palettes. The shimmers in there are very smooth and metallic. So I would recommend any one of those over the Coastal Scents shimmers. I will have swatches of this. I totally forgot to say that as well. Hello, Katie. I'll go ahead and put them on the screen here. I swatched them all on my arms. I'm going to do that after this video, so I'm sure it's going to take a couple slides because I cannot fit all of these eyeshadows on my arm at one time. But anyway, there you go, so you guys can see kind of how they apply with. I do about 2 passes whenever I do the swatch. I swirl my finger in a couple times, you know, a couple circles, and then I swipe over my arm twice to get what you're seeing. So anyway, yeah, overall, I was very pleased with their mattes. Oh, I did try a blush from there, but I'm not going to review it just because a blush is a blush. I will say it's extremely pigmented, which isn't my favorite. I'd rather a non-pigmented blush just so I have time to work on it and, you know, really work with it and whatnot. But let's move on to their brushes. I'm first going to touch on this brush set you can get. This brush set is $20. It comes with a nice little brush case that has a cover to it so you can travel with it. And then 8 brushes. And while I appreciate how affordable they offer it, I don't like brush sets like this because I feel like, well, yes, it's $20. There are so many brushes in here that I won't get good use of or that just don't work well. And if you buy it and try to use it to apply your makeup, I feel like you're going to be disappointed in your results. So, like, for example, this contour brush, while it's fine, it's very dense and it makes it very hard to buff and blend out. When I was trying to buff and work with it, I just found that it was sticking on places. It took a lot of work to blend out, so didn't appreciate that. This one is fine. It's just very flat, and I found a little bit too flimsy for me. I like something with a little more firmness when it comes to stippling on my foundation. This brush right here, it was too dense, too pointed. I mean, it does fine for applying blush, but it's not my preference. I like something a lot more airy and light. I feel like I always use this for an example, but this is just so light and airy, and it has less bristles in it, so I think that also helps it. This just has a lot. I don't know. I just didn't like it for applying blush. This worked fine. I use this to apply my eyeshadow base, but it worked fine for eyeshadow base, but I feel like there's so many brushes out in the world. I'll use it for that, but I wouldn't get this brush set for that. And then the eye brushes, this is just a typical type of brow brush, so I don't really get any use out of it. It's too fat to use for an eyeliner. And then this brush, while it is nice, it's extremely thick, I would say. Not even just like big and whatnot, like this Smashbox, what is this called? All Over Shadow. It's very large and stuff, kind of like similar size, but it has a thinness to it. It has a taper to it, so it works really well to really pick up shadows, and it's what I kind of prefer using when it comes to applying a matte shadow all over my lid. It's thick and bulky, but it's not really tapered very well on the sides, but it's extremely dense. I don't know, I just didn't really like it for picking and applying shadow to my lid. I just noticed I had to work with it more. It would catch weird, it would deposit color weird, it wouldn't, and I'm sure it has something to do with there not being enough of a taper to it, so wasn't a fan of these. The 2 brushes that stood out and that I can see myself actually enjoy using in the future are these 2 brushes. This tiny one is a perfect inner corner highlight for me. I like something really tiny like this. And then this works really well to buff and blend into my crease, mainly when I really want to blend in because there is no taper, or there is a taper, but there's not enough for me to really work to pick up and really pack and blend onto an outer corner. So 2 out of 8. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of this collection. But moving over to their single brushes that you can purchase separately and don't come in a collection, I wasn't a big fan of these either. I can't say I really recommend them. Yes, they're affordable, but like I just said, I much prefer the quality and the functionality and the quality, I guess, and the price also of e.l.f. Real Techniques. The ones I've tried from ColourPop are really nice. I just wasn't a fan of these. Now the tiny brushes, yes, they work, but I feel like any tiny brush will work. I forget how much these are, but if you're wanting something comparable to these tiny ones, this is an e.l.f. concealer brush for $2. Same thing, so I would say just go get that. And then these brushes, I think out of all of these, I really like this pointed one, but mainly because I don't really have a brush quite like it in my collection. But when talking about the quality of the brush itself, it's a little scratchy, it's a little not the most pleasant to work with, but it gets the job done. So if you wanted a recommendation, mine would be the BRC N08 brush. I really enjoyed that. And then similar to it is the BRC S08 brush. I'll have them both linked down below, but it's really nice for really getting in there and blending into your crease. Any type of brush like this, I know I tried one more. I feel like I'm missing some of my Coastal Scents brushes that I tried. I'm so sorry. But any of these kind of pinched, shaped, you know, kind of like trying to be a dupe for, let me grab it for you, the E25 brush from Sigma. The 3 that I tried from Coastal Scents, I did not like. There was not enough taper, there was not enough fluffiness, there was not enough gentleness about the bristles, and I just found that it wasn't a pleasure to use, and I don't foresee myself using them. If you want to see all the brushes used on my eyes, because I know I'm missing a couple in this little stack here, check out my first impressions, because I used all the brushes, the single brushes that I got from Coastal Scents in that video. But overall, I just was not impressed with Coastal Scents' brushes. Maybe I got all of the, you know, brushes that aren't the best from Coastal Scents, but the ones that I got, I wasn't too impressed, and I can't ever see myself saying if you need affordable brushes, I recommend getting them from Coastal Scents, because I just feel like you can get nicer brushes that apply your makeup better with e.l.f. I'm a broken record at this point, so that was my experience with Coastal Scents' brushes. So yeah, to just wrap up this video, I hope you guys found it helpful, and I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the 3 looks. As I said, if you want to see one more purple orangey look, that'll be in the first impressions video that I posted like a month or so ago. But I hope this was helpful for you guys. Keep in mind that personal preference has a lot to do with what you like in a powder product as well as a brush. So if you like Coastal Scents, or if you're still curious to try even though I don't like it, go for it. You might really enjoy it, and I feel like people have enjoyed Coastal Scents brushes in the past, but for me, they didn't wow me enough to say like, oh yeah, this is a good affordable brush line that I would say, hey, try a few. So I hope that makes sense. But if there were any brushes that you really like from Coastal Scents and you think that I just tried out all of the wrong brushes, let me know. Feel free to let me know down below, and maybe if I try them again in the future, I'll try to grab that brush so I can give it a try and experience the better brushes from Coastal Scents. But anyway, yeah, that is going to do it for this review of Coastal Scents' Hot Pots and their brushes. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it informative as always. If you did, I would love it if you hit the thumbs up button on your way out of the video. It just helps me out a little bit, and I really do appreciate it. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.